Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Menifee's Parks, Recreation, Trails Commission meeting for Thursday, September 4th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. And Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Chair Faust?
Here.
Vice Chair Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Gidroyce?
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
Commissioner Tremblay?
Here.
Thank you. Item number 3 is Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Commissioner Sanchez to lead us in the pledge.
If you please stand, put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Item 4, agenda approval or modifications. Madam Clerk, do we have any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, one modification to item 9.1. There's a change in the chart in the staff report, and that's been provided to the commission in the red folders.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay. Number 5, presentations. 5.1, CSD new full-time employees and recent promotions. Gabby?
Hello, good evening, Commissioners. Over the past couple of months, we've had quite a few changes in both our recreation and our parks and facilities teams, and all for good reasons. We've had some internal promotions, and today I just want to take a quick minute to go over some of the shifts in our assignments and then introduce you to some familiar faces, but you'll be able to see them a lot more often. So first, on our recreation side, we have Michael Reinhardt, who has promoted to Community Services Supervisor. From there, he oversees our recreation team. There are 4 community services coordinators that report directly to him, and I'm just going to go through them. As I mentioned, they should all be familiar faces to you, but I can recap what type of programs and events that they oversee. So first, we have Aisha Wilson. She oversees the Case Senecero Senior Center, so that includes all of our senior programs, all of our cultural arts programs and events, veteran services, and our transportation program. We have Shanice Jackson, who oversees our youth sports leagues and camps, our aquatics program, Healthy Menifee, and the skate park. And then new to our team for the last couple of months, we have Kim Victorio. She oversees Lazy Creek Recreation Center, including all of the youth programs, Mighty Me, school break camps, and the youth leaders of Menifee. And then our newest promotion is Sarah Eccles. She oversees our special events, community relations, and our vendors and sponsorship program. I'm going to hand the microphone over very quickly to both Mikey and Kim to do quick introductions.
Yes, good evening. I'm Michael Reinhardt. I have been with the City of Menifee for about 10 years now, most of the time spent with youth programs, so I'm really excited for this promotion. You know, in addition to working for the city, I grew up doing recreation here in the city, so I know how valuable recreation is to the lives of our residents, and I'm really excited to take a step up a little bit higher and help where I can and contribute and give back to the community that's given back, or that's given me so much, you know, throughout my life. So I'm excited for this new chapter.
Congratulations.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kimberly Victorio. Was a community services specialist with Mikey for the last about 10 months. I'm excited to take on this role and continue the strong foundation that Mikey's left for me.
How many preschoolers can you hold at one time?
Safely, maybe 8.
Wow, get big arms. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you so much.
And our next update comes from the Parks and Facilities side. So with the retirement of James Brannon, we had the promotion of Danny Gomez as our field supervisor overseeing all of our facilities here in the city. And reporting directly to him is Jared Price as the senior facilities maintenance worker. One of our newest additions to the team, though definitely a familiar face, is Park Ranger Brandon Sampson, who was previously with us from 2017 to 2024 and has returned to take back the program. So if Brandon has any comments and introductions.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm just glad to be back. I see some familiar faces here. I'm glad to be back as part of the Park Ranger program, representing the city of Menifee. I'm glad to be part of what we're doing here and looking forward to the future of the Parks Department.
Great, thank you. Glad to have you back.
And that is all of our updates for our full-time staff.
Thank you, Ms. Coe. Appreciate that. We're now at item number 6, public comments on non-agenda items only, and we do not have any public comments, so we'll skip that part, and we'll go to number 7, approval of minutes, 7.1, the August 7th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or comments to the minutes?
Matter of fact, yes.
Okay, Tom?
On 8.1, it mentions that you had suggested recommending the facility for the North Annex being named in Chelsea's memory. And I also recommended that we look into possibly naming the employee of the quarter in her memory. But that's not mentioned in the minutes. And I thought we'd left off, we were going to have a kind of an inquiry into the feelings of the folks who work in the department about that.
Yes, we were going to do an internal survey of our community services department staff and bring that back for commission's
That just
review.
isn't mentioned in here, so I thought I should make sure that that's still going to happen.
Any other comments or corrections, commissioners? All right, can I have a motion to approve as modified?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved. We're now on item 8, the consent calendar. And we've had a little change in our agenda and how we conduct the agenda and go through the consent calendar. So let me read this to you all. All matters on the consent calendar are to be approved in one motion unless a commission member requests a separate action on a specific item on the consent calendar. If an item is removed from the consent calendar, it will be discussed individually and acted upon separately. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on consent calendar items?
There are none.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions or items that you would wish to pull for further discussion? Okay. So can I have a motion and section to approve the consent calendar?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Consent calendar is approved. Then we're on item 9, discussion items, 9.1, community service user fee. And our presentation will be by Ms. Mitchell.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. First off, I'd like to acknowledge all the staff time that's gone into putting together this information. Our Parks and Recreation team worked very closely with this, specifically our Management Analyst 2, Nancy Rodriguez, who kind of helped bring this all together in a way that, for an item that can be pretty complex to comprehend, especially when you're trying to do comparisons to other agencies, really helped narrow this down so that way we have great information for Commission's consideration tonight. So I just want to give that acknowledgement. So first off, we've got a brief overview of community services user fee recommendations, just kind of the history of user fees in general, how they were recently reviewed by City Council as a part of a user fee study that was conducted by a consultant back in 2022. As a growing city, as we know, many of our fees may have been outdated or needed additional studying. A lot of those fees that were adjusted pertain to things that were the city is trying to accomplish cost recovery, looking at our development impact fees, looking at fees for just regular services that happen in and around the city. Part of that study did include our community services facility user fees, so fees for our facility rentals, our athletic fields, and things related to community services. However, during those recommendations, when the information was brought forward for City Council consideration, although the initial intent was cost recovery, City City Council's direction was to remain as flexible and as attainable for our city residents by keeping these fees at a lower cost. And so although our fees were included in the study, they weren't approved for additional increases in 2022. So during that fee study, there was also a recommendation to add the regular increases to account for the cost of doing business, so CPI increases. So those increases have taken place since 2022. For the rest of the fees, however, our community services user fees have remained at the initial level that were established after that meeting in 2022. And earlier this year, there was a recommendation to kind of review what these fees are, kind of get a feel of understanding of how they were developed and the direction that was given by City Council. So we did present that information to Commission in April of 2025, and that's when we got the request to kind of take a deeper dive into how these fees are reflected in our current service levels and how they're reflected in and around comparison to other agencies in and around Southwest Riverside County. So with that brings us to today's presentation, which is where we're giving you some additional information regarding that informal review, gathering of data to compare how our fees are in comparison to other cities, and then some additional recommendations for Commission's consideration on potential movements on those fees to either be a little more cost recovery or more in line with the market. And so that's what we have for you today. Depending upon today's feedback and discussion and further direction, we've got some time, so we're kind of targeting fall 2025 to bring Commission's official recommendation to City Council forward to City Council consideration. And then from there, if Council does approve it, it would be taken into consideration at the mid-year budget review, which is targeting February 2026 for implementation in July 2026. So that's just a brief overview of a timeline of, what the conversations we've had in the past and kind of what we're going to discuss today and what could happen potentially in the future. So with that in mind, we did kind of outline several things for City Council to consider. For Commission to consider, recommending to City Council for consideration. And so we provided 3 distinct options, and in the attachment of the staff report, there's a rather large spreadsheet with a lot of information and data on it. So we wanted to try and focus in on some of our most used fees. And so those are things like our facility rental fee for a large room, which is either the entirety of our Lazy Creek Recreation Center or the Palm Room at the Casey Center. And then, of course, our multi-purpose field, which is either used for football or soccer, and our baseball diamonds. So those are just pulled out of that attachment number 2 in the staff report, just to kind of give you some idea of where these look at. And so some of the recommendations that we as staff had considered was to identify the fees that are really out of range when it comes to the average fee of regional agencies. And so those that are just, I believe we were looking at like the 70% mark or above, looking at adjusting those fees so that way we're more in line with the market rate. But wanting to keep things affordable and accessible to Menifee residents, we kind of took it at an incremental approach and wanting to give Commission an opportunity to review a couple different options, and one of those being if we wanted to do a modest increase of 20% and just to those fees that are completely out of range of the average rate. There's also a recommendation, or the Commission can consider looking at the average fee across other agencies and going and wanting to make the recommendation to go to that rate, or maybe taking an incremental approach by starting off with a 20% and eventually ending up at the average rate. So those are just some of the recommendations. Again, we want Commission's feedback, and of course this is a conversation that we're having here at the Commission, but of course we would also, based on today's conversation, would like to involve feedback from our leagues, who are our biggest users of our facility rental field allocation process, and then kind of go from there when we present the information to City Council to ensure that we have community feedback. So the intent of this slide, I know it's a lot of information, is to kind of give you that feel for how far off we might be when it comes to the average range of fees that are in and around Southwest Riverside County. So looking at our facility rental fee, which I mentioned is either Lazy Creek or the Palm Room at the Casey Center, the city's adopted fee is $40 an hour, with the average rate across our area at about the $99 an hour rate. And so if we were looking at a 20% increase, our recommended fee would be $48 an hour, which is an $8 an hour increase. So again, that's really, we feel more on the modest side of the increase range, but again, up to Commission's consideration if you guys want to consider other options other than what we've suggested. On top of that, we've also added a few different fees that just aren't in existence in our current fee schedule, and that's these are things that are currently happening in other agencies and have been asked of us. We just don't have the fee to accommodate it, so it's mostly when it comes around tournaments. So tournament fees, a lot of agencies do look at utilizing these fees in order to ensure a minimum range of use, and tournaments often are done over the weekends when, so when there might be availability. So wanting to keep up with the rate of the market, we wanted to establish these fees for our agencies, which are currently not in existence. So with that in mind, the idea is that we do, we do recoup some cost. It's relatively modest because our fees are modest to begin with. But with the increase, if we were to go to that 20% increase over some of the larger fees that we do collect, like athletic field rentals, facility and park rentals, picnic shelter rentals, which I don't believe we're recommending any addition, but we would see some increase in our overall revenues for the department. Again, it's relatively modest increase, but the fiscal impact would mean that additional revenue would come to the general fund. So with that in mind, this is just kind of a review of the recommended options that staff presented. And again, it's based off of the conversation today. If more information is required, if you guys would like to see other options, we can definitely bring the item back for additional commission consideration. So again, what we've highlighted in the attachment and the staff report is the 20% increase. And then the secondary option, meaning an either immediate increase of trying to reach that average range or an incremental increase with 20% and then ending at that regional average range, which would take place over a period of time. So with that concludes my report, and I'll open it up to Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments requested on this item?
We do have one request to speak. Melanie Phillips, please approach the podium.
Thank you, Ms. Phelps.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I have to do this for my phone. My printer hated me today. Thank you guys for giving me a few moments. My name is Melanie Phillips. I'm the Regional Commissioner of Menifee AYSO. I spoke a few months back and detailed our need for more lit fields and more practice space, and unfortunately I come here with more of the same and to give you an understanding of where we are in regards to fees. I've been in the program for almost 7 years and have seen our practice field allocations dwindle from 7 or 8 large parks with the city to 3.5 small ones, yet our numbers have more than doubled. Since I took over 2 years ago, our registration has grown by almost 40%, yet our allocations have decreased by similar percentages. Statistically speaking, we have 112 teams in our rec program, another 15 in our competitive realm. Between them, and according to practice guidelines, we require 162 hours of practice weekly for our 6U to 12U teams, 96 hours of practice for our upper division and competitive teams, and currently we are allocated 45 hours of space with the city. That leaves me 213 hours short every week for practice time that U.S. Soccer deems appropriate and reasonable for a team to be successful at the ages that we have listed. We are the largest Menifee sports program, homegrown, and have been here for 30 years, yet I fight tooth and nail to retain field space for the people who love us and feel valued and respected within the program. I am competing with every single organization that sees dollar signs in Menifee when my goal is just to give as many children as I can a safe, affordable place to play. Our retention rate is over 80% every season since I took over, and I've spent the majority of the start of the season apologizing to my registrants and their families that I can't give them more space than I am currently. I'm scheduling upwards of 20 teams on any given evening on your parks. Hidden Hills is covered in red ant hills and doesn't currently
Sorry,
have lights.
Point of order, please.
I'm going to the feed, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want to make sure it's about that.
Centennial Park is one of our allocated fields, the only lit field we were allocated. It's been closed for maintenance for the past 6 weeks. It was just reopened yesterday, and it is 30% dirt, and it's the first day of it being opened after being reseeded. The understanding I have is that they had to cut costs to retain the budget, that corners were cut to save money. I am okay with a fee increase if it means that that money is going to be poured into the fields that we have now and putting lights and maintaining the integrity of the field for the safety of our kids. We don't have enough fields already, and now the ones that we have are unusable essentially for the kids that we have and the ages that we have. We are not given appropriate field space, accommodations, the money. We're okay with a field increase. I'm the largest nonprofit in Menifee, and if I'm okay with it, I assume that the other organizations that have a bigger bank account than I have would also be okay with it. But what I ask is that that money goes into the integrity of the fields that we have, putting lights at the field so they can practice longer at the parks. I'm not going to be the only organization that has a concern like that, and the space, we don't have the space to grow the way we need to and to support you guys in the youth programs in Menifee. So that's all I have, but I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Fellows. Appreciate that. Okay, I'd like to now open this item for discussion amongst the commissioners. If you use your little selector there, I can keep track of who's next. So, last, Commissioner Peterson.
Okay, so the one thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, the obvious valley-wide visibility, you know, we don't have the opportunity to kind of see how they're allocating. I'm not saying this does happen, but we wouldn't know if Valley-wide has completely satisfied an organization's requirements for fields. So, you know, when our team has the job of kind of being fair with the allocations, it seems like that one's a little bit, I think it's hard to say that it's 100% success, right? I feel personally that increasing the rates, especially for non-resident, and then, you know, slightly more modest for the other, you know, resident and nonprofit, but that it will kind of put these organizations in a position where they have to be more resourceful, more efficient. They have to be more respectful for other organizations. They have to make better use out of their time. I know every organization probably has, you know, their favorite day and the favorite time, and it's probably like a Monday or a Thursday at the best parks with the best lights. And, you know, so obviously there's a lot that needs to be shared and not much to go around. So my personal thought is that we increase rates, kind of put the organizations into a position where they have to spend about the same and get more out of it. I know that, you know, based off of what our speaker has mentioned, if, you know, when parks are closed, especially for maintenance and you can't use them at all, makes it really tough to even, you know, to be efficient, but that's all I got for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Tremblay?
I'm recalling when we first brought this topic up for discussion, and I know a large part of the discussion with increasing those rates were to exactly what you said, hopefully allow organizations that are using that space to value it and not just, oh, here, it only costs X amount an hour, so if we don't show up for practice, it's fine. But then also to try to roll those funds into hopefully getting more lights or maintaining the parks. With that increase, are we able to see or allocate specific funds for specific things when it comes directly to the park, or any details in relationship to that? Because if I'm recalling properly from that last meeting, we weren't even breaking even. Is that word correct?
No,
We weren't
our
even-
rates are not cost recovery.
Yeah,
Yeah, our rates are not cost recovery, and any revenue that's generated from the rentals does go into our general fund revenue accounts, which ultimately does go back to supporting our department, because our department is primarily funded through the general fund. That's our staffing, that's our programming, things of that nature. Depending on the increase, it's not really enough. A 20% increase isn't going to be enough to light a field. Or anything of that nature. But it does help the general fund, which then alleviates use of specialized funds or other, or our development impact fee funds that could be used towards park enhancements.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yeah, my question is with option 3, incremental increase starting with 20%, ending at a regional average, over what period of time?
Typically, those would happen over fiscal years. So it would be in the next fiscal year, starting in July 2026, and then maybe another increase in the following one until we reach that average rate, if that's what the commission wants to consider.
Commissioner Peterson?
Mr. Howell, I have a question for you. As far as field maintenance goes, and essentially what one of your main tasks to manage, I just want to kind of understand your perspective on the resources that you have to work with, the fiscal resources, and how far away are you from being sufficient?
Well, what do you mean on that? Because you mean just for maintenance-wise, recovery-wise? So a turf management program, obviously, you're gonna have to shut down. You're gonna have to shut down fields. They're living, it's not a turf field. So maintenance-wise, it depends on, obviously, the use of the fields. All Menifee fields are baseball, multi-purpose, everything is very heavily used. I mean, one single soccer field will be turned into 3 different soccer fields, so that's 3 times the amount of players that would normally be on that, and that's 7 days a week. So catching up on that is almost impossible to do, to catch up on that. So that's why when we shut down fields for a certain amount of time, it's for that recovery. So we do as best as we can with the funding that we have, depending on if it's a CFD, general fund, but the more it gets used by the leagues, it's gonna be more general fund that's gonna have to be used to be able to either replace or let recover until we have these other fields that are lit, and then we're able to do more of a cycle, a rotation. So we got Underwood, that's one more field that we can get. We have the 2 CIP projects that are going, we have Hidden Hills and then Peterson. As soon as we get those on board, that's 2 more fields that we get to go for that rotation, that you can use into the winter time. So as we add more fields, that'll help us get to that point where we can actually have a complete turf management program to where it's not, where if it's shut down like we are for a couple weeks or anything, we still have 5 or 6 more fields instead of just only having 3 fields, shutting one down. We just lost 30%, 35% of those fields. So once we add more fields, that's what's helping to be able to get to that point where we can have that recovery of everything for the fields for maintenance-wise.
I see. Is there a way that we can guarantee, or at least, know that some of this increase in fees will definitely be going towards field maintenance or related?
It's just general fund.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a way to particularly earmark this for a specific project. The revenue is general fund, which does support our department very largely. So it will be coming back to us. It's not going to be earmarked for a specific project.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mr. Howell, just follow up on Laz's question. What's the timeline? I know we've got the 2 proposed CIPs, but they still, we haven't come to the council for funding yet to design, have we?
No, so we're actually we're actually already moving forward on those. We're getting contracts set in place. We have to get soil reports and things like that for that. We're working with Musco for the design. We're working with an electrical engineer, trying to get an electrical engineer to design those plans. So we're getting proposals for those and getting contracts already set up. Probably about a year before everything, maybe a little over, by next summer, we'll have those lights installed. But it all depends on, we're moving pretty quick on that, and then it's going to be the manufacturing part of the lights once we purchase and go through that. So once we have what we can in hand, actually with some of the funding, because it was already allocated it's a savings from previous projects, we already have the funding, we're able to move it around. But what we'll do is we'll bring to council is the contract, like to install and purchase the lighting. But it's in our threshold to be able to start the design doing that, which we're already working on currently.
Excellent. And as far as parks in progress, are there any parks with fields that should be available in the next year?
So within the
Or we're
next
getting
year,
close?
it's actually baseball, softball fields that are in there. The next multi-purpose fields are still, they're not under construction yet currently. I mean, they're in the works, but they're not going to be under construction probably for a couple of years, depending on how the growth goes of some of the developments.
Okay. Is Banner Village used, that park, for fields?
So it's used, it is
More for
used, we don't
practice.
allocate it out. It's not a sports field for that. So some
Okay.
parks, yes, it can be used like that, but it's more of an open park for families and everything like that. But you can use it, and people do. They kick a ball around, throw a football around, but it's not one to be allocated out.
Okay. Or you think some teams are actually using it for practice, probably?
I'm not sure if they're using it for practice. I have seen like little ones that are there using it for practice that are like 4 or 5 years old. But that's a different than just
to do
so,
drills and stuff.
yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Peterson, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Now that you guys were mentioning that, is it possible that we can, look into allocating a field like that for the younger age groups? The up to maybe 6-year-old, 7-year-old age, where they're not going to be really wearing and tearing it down good, like the older kids or the adults.
We could look into it, but some of those parks aren't designed to have sports fields and everything on it, like all the impact of the residents into the community. So that brings a lot of extra cars and everything like that. Mayfield, for one, we used to allocate that, and then it impacted the community too much, and it's not really made for that. I mean, it's usable, but that we could definitely look into it and see if any of the other parks are, but that's why we don't use some of those parks, because of the impact on the community, because it is a smaller park and a smaller community.
But as an interim measure that we could do until some more sports fields are completed to kind of help relieve some of the deficit we have in allocation hours for some of our bigger sports, maybe that would be something to consider. Going back to the primary point of this discussion is on the user fees. I like the fact that Menifee's fees are lower than the regional average, and I think that makes it attractive for our teams to play here, and I appreciate the benefit that we give the residents of Menifee, not having to pay these really extraordinary fees that some of the other cities charge. There's quite a lot. I mean, some are almost double what we charge or more. I think 20% is a modest increase. I don't have any desire to see us increase to the regional average. I'd like to see us always be below that, and just convince council just to increase the general fund allocation to community services to cover the costs and more in line with the actuals, actual cost, but without placing that extra burden on the users. Menifee is known for our numerous and beautiful parks, and I understand the wear and tear they're getting because we have such a deficit in the acreage that hopefully, we're growing so fast that we've outgrown the park space that we have for the number of potential users. So, but my recommendation would be number one when it comes to the fees to City Council. Commissioner Peterson.
I do want to say that, we have this upcoming meeting regarding Valleywide with the City Council. I believe it's the 22nd. And this, I feel, kind of has a lot to do with, it kind of goes hand in hand with some of what we will hopefully, understand more about that, the possibility of. And so as far as the 3 options that we have currently in front of us, I'm with Chairman Faust, especially, an immediate 20% increase would be excellent. I think that would be a wonderful place to start. But also, I do feel like we do need to have a very solid understanding about the other approach, because if we are able to take on, you know, let's call it the entire valley-wide districts that are within Menifee, our visibility increases, and then we all of a sudden can manage the resources, I mean, I would say infinitely better. And so, but I feel strongly that the fees in that regard would still need to be raised to make that more possible, at least as far as, you know, but it doesn't, I feel like we need to have a further discussion on this one.
And just to reiterate, any fee increase would not take place till the beginning of next fiscal year. Commissioner Sanchez?
So I agree with Commissioner Faust. The only thing I want to know is, can we, the recommendations or what we're looking at here as far as increases, I do think we probably should consider raising for the non-resident. I think having lower fees or yeah, lower than other cities would invite other people to come to our parks at a much lower cost. That's my recommendation.
Commissioner Gidroy?
I'm in favor of making sure that our residents have affordable access to the parks. And therefore, option number one, I think, would be the right choice. And I agree with Commissioner Sanchez, too, that it's very attractive to outsiders to take advantage of this, and I think they should be the ones who should carry most of that burden when there is an increase.
Commissioner Peterson?
Do we know, do we have percentages on, as far as our allocation goes, what percentage is going to non-resident, resident, and nonprofit?
I don't have the exact percentage on me, but I do know it's relatively low because we have so few allocations, fields to allocate. The priority almost dictates that it almost always goes to resident youth groups. And then only, I think we've only allocated certain days and times for travel ball groups, but it's relatively low.
Yeah, depending on the park, but so Tuesdays and Thursdays at one park out of everything we allocate is for the travel ball or travel and club, and then the rest of it is actually for recreational use.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tremblay?
I would just say, I think option 3 would be ideal. I understand we want to keep the costs low. However, at what cost? Because we don't have the resources to completely properly maintain, and we're already running under, in a deficit. So raising it 20%, yeah, that may help a little bit, but it's going to continue to create the same issues that we are currently experiencing. And again, I think most organizations who need field space would be more than happy to spend more money if that means that the fields are going to be properly maintained, we're going to have more access to lights, there's going to be more accessibility. But I think in trying to keep it low, we almost continue to create a system of no one can access the parks, or this park is shut down and we don't have the resources. It doesn't resolve the root cause, which is, yes, we need more parks, but that costs money. And to get money, a portion of it does need to come from the fees, but that's my opinion.
Commissioner Gidroy?
Well, to the point of lighting, have we ever had a council deny us anything from the general fund? If we need lighting, have we ever said to them, we need lighting over here? They've said, no, we can't give you that budget money. Or is it always we ask and we receive?
The budget process is very complex.
Understood.
But typically, council is very supportive of community services as a department as a whole. So when we go through the CIP process and the workshop, just like we experienced in this last fiscal year, it was City Council who said, what about community services in our parks and lighting? And so I do feel that we're supported very well by council in our needs and meeting the needs of our residents. However, that's going to continue to grow, and our resources, of course, are finite. So, but we do the best we can with what we have.
Okay, thanks for that.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Bryce, would you remind us again which parks are in the process of getting lighting?
So there's actually 3 different parks. For multi-purpose fields, it is Hidden Hills and Peterson. ELP Peterson Park. Those are the two multi-purpose fields, and then La Ladera is in the process. Design phase is actually in plan review for the lights for two small ball fields. And then in the parks in progress, just so I'll add those in there. So there's two softball fields under construction at Cimarron Ridge. That's off of Getz and Valley. And then there's in the works over the next couple of years, there will be, my mind went blank. There's Legato that has the multi-purpose fields. I believe it's 3 full-size multi-purpose lit fields, and then we are adding a track and field with the multi-purpose at Cantalina. Thank you.
Cantilena, okay.
Again, those are those couple parks are still in the design phase of that, but they are at least in the future for that. But currently, it is Hidden Hills and ELP Peterson with those, and then La Ladera Park.
Thank you. Commissioner Peterson?
Is La Ladera funded? Are we good to go on that one?
We have the funding currently in the CIP project, yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. And then after Commissioner Tremblay was kind of explaining some of the perspective on, the options she was thinking of here. The wear and tear, I think, that's kind of one of the biggest issues is the wear and tear, got to shut it down. Now it's, more demand, more wear and tear. Then you're just you're chasing your tail. And, I think for some of these things, there might be essentially kind of not a 20% across the board, but for a non-resident, closer to the average right out of the gate, I know that most of those are probably for-profit organizations. But for nonprofit, I would think 40%, at least, for the hour, could be a little closer to what would be, they can probably handle that, and it would really help, and there's a lot of people, when you're at the field and whatever, you hear people say things, and, and it just, they kind of have a sour look on their face when they're frustrated at.
I kind of like that hybrid where 20% for a resident, but average of other agency fees for non-resident. Commissioner Gidroys.
Just to review, when you say regional average, what agencies did we use?
Those are the agencies that were provided in the staff report, and it was Moreno Valley, Murrieta, Paris, Temecula, and Valleywide.
Okay. And was there any of them that were higher than lower by very much extreme? Did you recall? I know,
Seemed like
for
Moreno
example, is
Valley
Valley
was
White up
really-
here and Paris is down there?
Really high.
Yeah, it's hard to make just one broad assumption. They're all kind of a little all over the place, which is why we went with the average. But definitely some cities were more cost recovery model. I think Moreno Valley kind of took a cost recovery approach, as did Valleywide recently, so.
Okay, I just want to get that kind of clear in my head. Thank you. I still stick with the immediate 20% increase. To me makes sense, and we want to look out for our residents and those who are on the outside and want to get in. I think they should pay the max.
Any other comments, commissioners? Anybody do we have any kind of close to making any kind of recommendation, or do we want to table this till next month and to provide, to get more community feedback? Any thoughts on that?
If I can
Sure.
add something real quick.
Sure.
So it sounded like that there was a general consensus or appetite to at least see the 20% increase, so the modest increase to increase revenues. What we could potentially do, and I also heard that there was wanting to differentiate between resident and non-resident fees, so that the non-resident was obviously higher than what our residents are paying, as opposed to the 10 or 12%. What we could also do is make this part of our biennial budget process, because I know that we want to make sure that we're maintaining within the market rate, reevaluating where we stand amongst our neighboring cities, and this is something that we can implement in the biennial budget process to review where we're standing at those regional averages, to either make adjustments at that point in time and just kind of have a pulse on it as we continue to move forward, as the city continues to grow and our amenities hopefully grow with it. So that's something that we could also implement in a process that already exists for us.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yeah, it was just, in checking out the averages, I was actually a little surprised to see that where is it here? That for a couple of these, the nonprofit is more than the resident, and I kind of feel like to start off with, it kind of seems like that might be a little more appropriate. Not to say that we need to take everything up to the average or anything like that, but I don't know, without knowing the percentages of resident versus nonprofit versus non-resident, I'd be real curious to see the impact it would have if we really kind of stayed on par with what the averages are, but not going to the averages, but kind of make it more where nonprofit is a little more, maybe a little higher, and then the residents a little lower, just so it's still balanced. But when we're talking about resident, we're talking about just an average resident. That's correct? Or any organization that is a resident organization, profit or.
So the way our field allocation works, if it's an organization, they have to meet a percentage of residency to get that resident rate.
Got it. Okay. And how about for nonprofit? Do they have to comply with the same residency?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'd like to table it and see what we can do more, and maybe at least get the ball rolling on something. But that's.
Ms. Mitchell, if we were to table this for another month to solicit more public input, does that keep us on our timeline?
Yes, we do have some additional time to bring this back another month. If we could just get some clarity on the additional information Commission is seeking.
Well, I think there's been comments about non-resident fees being increased to other agency fees almost immediately. There's general consensus on the 20% for resident, non-resident, and then we've had some questions about nonprofit versus resident, and wanting to understand. I think we'd like to understand percentages as far as how many, what percent is resident sports leagues versus resident nonprofit sports leagues versus non-resident sports leagues. I don't, unless there's is just resident not a league, is that even a significant factor at all? Like a local church renting a field for the day or something.
Maybe I could help you a little bit. Sure. So when we're saying like travel teams or club teams and everything, they can still be residents of Menifee, and they'll still get priority over another league that is a non-resident league. So that cost is obviously a little more because it's not a nonprofit, but if they have the resident in the travel, they just don't get the allocation time because the nonprofit and recreation leagues get those fields. So we can get that, we can look at that and get that information, that percentage of those that are there, but we don't really allocate too much even out to non-residents because we don't have the space. Sure. I'm not saying we don't ever do that, but I know it'll be really low, very low for a non-resident right now because we don't have the space. So everything is getting to the resident rate, or the resident, they fit that residency, and that goes between our recreation and also the travel and club teams. We take that same residency, we make sure they only have small portions of it, but we take the residents over non-residents on that as well.
And to clarify on following that, a resident team versus like you're saying, a travel team versus a nonprofit. So a travel team is more of a for-profit.
Yeah, they're typically competitive, and they don't have a 501c3 status.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to know what the percentages between those two types of users are. because I like how, you know, the current fee structure gives a break to the nonprofits because, you know, they don't have the purse that the others do. Commissioners, was there anything else that we wanted staff to report back before we bring this up again? Commissioner Sanchez?
Understanding it right, we're gonna table this, right, for a month. But our biggest issue is with the non-resident, maybe paying a little more than the resident and nonprofit. Is that what we're thinking?
But the non-resident sounds like they're not even getting allocated fields because we just don't have them.
What percentage would you say?
Yeah, we can bring that information back to commission so we have exact information. If I could, I just wanted to give a small reminder that these fees also impact our facility rental fees. So the people who utilize our Case and Sarah Senior Center, the Palm Room, Lazy Creek as well, and we do have some non-residents that utilize those facilities.
Yeah, and I would not be opposed to, for non-resident on facilities, that they would increase to the regional average. There's no reason to give them any kind of a break. I prefer to give the discounts to our local groups. Commissioner Peterson?
Besides, you know, the fields, obviously we have the maintenance and the wear and tear and all that. For the facilities, you know, such as Case and Aceros, do we have any issues maintaining certain aspects of those, or, you know, like we do with the parks, like the multipurpose fields, baseball fields?
No, it's a different type of maintenance. Obviously, it's, you know, they're not wearing down the flooring and everything like that. So it's different type. We do have maintenance, but not nearly like what you have on a sports field.
Okay. It seems to me there's a huge deficit on facilities that we have. I mean, we only have a few rooms at Casey and then Lazy Creek, right? So
Correct.
that's really all we have. Commissioner Sanchez?
Just out of curiosity, I know you mentioned all the cities that we took and averaged. Can we just for kicks get an average of, say, Murrieta and Temecula for the average?
Well, they were included in the analysis.
They are included, but I'm saying just them two, where I think Menifee compares more to those two cities than Paris.
Well, I'm, and I know this is, you know, we're going to meet and efforts are going on in the future, but I'm just, you know, Valley-Wide's serves Menifee residents, and it just, and people are paying a lot more over there than they are on a City of Menifee park, too. At least currently. Commissioner Peterson?
Yeah, with that, I think if we drop Paris out of there, because I mean, I'm looking at the numbers and it, you know, I don't even know how they sustain. They actually have some really nice fields over there, and you know, we've checked out a few of their different ones, and I don't know how they were keeping those things in line, but yeah, I mean, $3 per hour. I mean, I don't know how that's sustainable, but yeah, I'd like to see at least that drop, maybe Moreno Valley drop, because they're a little higher than.
Okay, so you guys are looking at, so get rid of those outliers so that our average is more in line with Temecula, Murrieta, and Valley-Wide.
Right.
That was.
I think that'd be good.
Can we modify that table and give us an averages versus just those agencies?
Yes, we can certainly do that.
Okay. Yeah, so can I have a motion then to, staff, do you have enough to keep you busy for 30 days?
Certainly do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and you're better understand what we're looking at. Okay, so can I have a motion to table this till the October meeting?
I'll motion.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're now to item number 10, Community Services Director comments. Ms. Mitchell.
All right, so with that, I have a few items that I'd like to give an update to the commission on, and some of those are special meetings with the City Council. So the first one coming up is the special meeting happening on Monday, September 22nd at 5 p.m. here in the council chambers, and this is actually a joint meeting with City Council and the Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission. So the intent was to get all of our 5 council members present for this meeting and at least a quorum of our commissioners. And this, as mentioned earlier, is going to be focusing on the valley-wide fiscal impact analysis, which is something that was commissioned by council to really kind of dig into the details of the special districts and the lighting and maintenance districts over in the valley-wide service areas that lie within the City of Menifee boundaries, and kind of provide some calculations and comparisons to City of Menifee's current levels of service. So that's when we'll be hosting that workshop, and really it's an opportunity to just kind of get a glimpse of the information, ask some questions in order to just kind of digest this, and ultimately this item will go back to City Council for any additional action in the future. After that, we have our City Council special meeting workshop on October 1st at 4 p.m. here in council chambers, and this is going to be focusing on the placemaking unique identity and tourism master plan, which is also another item that was brought forward through the strategic plan, kind of helping identify ways that Menifee can stand out amongst the region, really kind of looking at factors that make Menifee unique and a great place to live, work, and play. And so this will be our consultant coming forward to give a presentation to City Council, and we encourage our commissioners to attend if you're available, although it's not something that's being headed up or managed by the Community Services Department. A lot of what takes place in this master plan will play into what we do, specifically because Community Services does a lot in the realm of placemaking, and a lot of our residents look to our events and our programs to really feel at home. So we encourage you to attend if you're available. And the last item I'd like to highlight is the Menifee Matters. The fall edition is currently out and ready. It's online available, and I just want to highlight this because we've got some special CSD content. Normally we're about 90% of, maybe 50% of the magazine with all of our events and contract classes and programs, but this quarter there's a highlight on the 10 years of community services. So we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary since our inception in July 2015, and so there's some highlights on there. I encourage you to look through it, along with all the other great and relevant information on all of the City of Menifee happenings. So with that, that concludes my updates.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Commissioners, any questions for Director Mitchell? Okay, thank you. Item 11, Commissioner reports on committee activities. Commissioners, anything to report out from activities in the last month? It was a pretty quiet month.
I participated, or attended the baseball game last week at the Storm Stadium. It was Menifee Chamber of Commerce. It was a pretty neat event. Most of the City Council was there, and very good representation of for Menifee.
Thanks. Unfortunately, I missed that this year too. Commissioner Peterson, did you have something?
It was a quiet month. A bit warm, but also quiet. So.
Okay, Commissioners, let's move on then to item 12, future agenda requests. Commissioners, any future agenda items that you'd like to add to our current list? Okay, hearing none. Then any other comments or business that we need to bring before the commission? Okay, then I'd like to motion to adjourn this meeting. Okay. Motion was made to adjourn?
Oh, motion.
Okay, seconded?
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll conclude this meeting of tonight's Parks, Recreation, Trails Commission at 6:58. Thank you very much for your attendance.